Hello, language lovers. Welcome back to my channel. If you are learning languages like me, you've probably realized how important it is to take good notes. But here's the thing, note taking doesn't have to be boring or overwhelming. One of my favorite ways to learn is by taking notes while watching movies, listening to podcasts, or even jamming to my favorite songs. It's a simple habit, but it's helped me pick up new words faster, understand grammar in real life context, and even improve my pronunciation. If you've ever wondered how to make the most of your entertainment time while boosting your language skills, this video is for you. Before we talk about note taking, let's start with the basics, choosing the right content. Whether it's podcasts, songs, or movies, picking material that matches your level and interest is key to making your learning effective and enjoyable. If you are a beginner, look for
지금부터
podcasts that
내가
break down basic
생각하는
vocabulary,
한국
tones, or
사투리가
grammar in
최고인
bite-sized
이유를
chunks.
말해보려고
Find shows with clear pronunciation and topics you enjoy. I recommend sampling 2 to 3 podcasts before settling on one. Most learning podcasts label their episodes by level, so it's easy to find what works for you. When it comes to movies, select a film with a plot you find engaging and that is appropriate for your language level. Beginners can start with animated films or kids
身体
shows.
好
They
吗？
often use simpler language and
很
have
好。
engaging visuals to help you
你
follow along.
贵姓？
The same goes for songs. If you are just starting out, pick songs with clear lyrics and a slower tempo, like ballads or children's songs. They usually have simple vocabulary and repetitive structures, which are perfect for beginners. As you get more comfortable, you can explore pop, rap, or traditional music to pick up cultural nuances and slang. So take your time to find content that fits your level and interests. It'll make the whole note-taking process way more enjoyable and effective. Use transcripts and subtitles. Many
meet
podcasts provide
เพื่อน
written
เก่า
transcripts, which are
an old
super
friend
useful for following along and
แน
reviewing
น
new
นัด
words.
เจอ
For
เพื่อนเก่า
languages with tricky writing
ที่
systems like Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, transcripts are especially helpful for learning pronunciation and characters at the same time. For movies, watching with dual subtitles, one in your target language and one in your native language, can be a game changer. If you are using a computer, browser extensions like Language Reactor provide dual subtitles and instant translations, and YouTube Summary with ChatGPT can generate transcripts. Practice active listening. This means really engaging with the content instead of just passively consuming it. For podcasts, I listen to the episode once without stopping to get the general idea. Then I listen again, but this time I focus on picking out new words, phrases, or grammar patterns. If there are subtitles or a transcript, I'll use those to follow along more closely. For movies, don't be afraid to pause when you hear something new or unclear, but don't overdo it. Constantly stopping can ruin the experience. Instead, pause only when a word or phrase really catches your attention or feels important. The goal is to enjoy the content while still actively engaging with it. Now, let's talk about taking notes. When watching a movie or listening to a podcast, you don't have time to write down everything, and you shouldn't. Instead, focus on these 4 key elements. New vocabulary, jot down unfamiliar words along with their pronunciation and meaning as best as you can. Phrases and expressions. Note down useful everyday phrases, idioms, or common sayings. Grammar structures. Pay attention to sentence patterns and how grammar is used naturally. Context. Always write the context in which a word or phrase was used to better understand its meaning. To start, I keep a piece of paper ready to quickly jot down new words, phrases, and grammar points. At this stage, I don't worry about making my notes neat or organized. It's just a rough draft to capture everything first. While watching, as I mentioned earlier, I use tools like Language Reactor for dual subtitles and instant translations, and YouTube Summary with ChatGPT to generate transcripts. These tools help me take notes without constantly pausing and make note taking faster and more efficient. After watching or listening, I take a few minutes to organize my notes. This helps me remember everything better. For this, I use a 2-column method, one side for new word or phrase and their meanings, and the other for grammar patterns and example sentences. For some tricky words, I look up their meaning again and try making sentences in my own words. To make reviewing easier, I use symbols and I like to color code my notes, like black for phrases and words, blue for their translations, and finally red for important notes or keywords. But sometimes I do use a pencil to write my own sentences because it's convenient, and when I write something something wrong, I can just erase it. I keep everything aligned on one side for quick scanning and use bullet points instead of long paragraphs. If I need to add more details later, I write them in the margins or use sticky notes to keep things neat. If you like digital notes, apps like Notion or Anki are great for organizing vocabulary and grammar rules. Finally, try using mind maps to connect words and phrases thematically. It's a great way to visualize relationships between vocabulary and make your notes more dynamic. With these tips, you can take structured, effective notes without spending too much time pausing or rewriting. By following this process, I not only learn new words and grammar, but also develop a deeper understanding of the language and culture. So, whether you are listening to a podcast, or song, or watching a movie, grab your notebook and turn what you hear into a language lesson. All right, so you've taken notes from podcasts or songs. Great. But here's the thing, if you don't review and predict what you've learned, it's easy to forget. So let's talk about how to make sure all that hard work sticks. First, set aside time to review your notes regularly. I like to do this at the end of the week, but you can choose whatever schedule works for you. When I review, I focus on the key vocabulary, phrases, and grammar patterns I've written down. One of my favorite ways to practice is by creating flashcards. You don't need anything fancy, just some paper or even a digital app. I write the new word or phrase on one side and its meaning or an example sentence on the other. Apps like Anki or QuickSlet are especially helpful because they use spaced repetition to make sure you remember things long term. Another way I practice is by using the new words and phrases in my own sentences. For example, if I learned the word "nu li" from a Chinese podcast, I'll try to write or say a sentence like 我每天都很努力. This helps me get comfortable using the language in real life context. If you're learning a language with a different writing system like Chinese characters, Japanese kanji, or Korean hangul, take some time to practice writing them out by hand. I'll often copy sentences from my notes or lyrics from a song to reinforce my memory. Finally, don't forget to revisit the original content. Go back to that podcast episode or song and listen again. You will be surprised at how much more you understand the second or that time around. By reviewing and practicing regularly, you will turn those notes into real usable knowledge. So make it a habit, your future self will thank you. And that's it, guys. Those are my tips for taking language notes from movies, podcasts, and songs. Whether you're learning Chinese, Japanese, Korean, or any other language, these strategies will help you make the most out of your listening practice. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more language learning tips. And let me know in the comments what's your favorite song or podcast to learn with, and what's your favorite way to learn. I'm always looking for new recommendations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.